BC, unfortunately, I can't find the solution anywhere, so you got to deal with me for one more video. Remember to hit me up at my email address, stanaka@mchs.net, and I will come Google Meets up until 10 p.m. at night just for you. All right, get it done today and tomorrow. Any bit of cramming will help you out. All right, let's do this problemos. Okay. Let g of x equal x squared over f of x. Find g prime of 3. Hopefully you've worked on these already and you're just checking your answers. All right, well, this is just a quotient rule, which is the low times the derivative of the high minus the high times the derivative of the low, all over low. Right, we square that guy, and then you do g prime of tree. So you put a 3 in for all of those bad boys. You use the table. I'm not going to get crazy and do that work, but I did it, and I got 42 over 16. You can circle that as your final answer. There's nothing that says you need to reduce. You'd be amazed if you reduce and you reduce wrong, you will lose a point. So just leave it as it is. All right, most people have been getting B wrong. It says the average value of f. Well, average value means integral over interval, but don't overthink it. It just says the average value of f. Average value of f then would be the integral of f, because that's what you're finding the average value of over the interval. So be careful. Now, this is a left Riemann sum. So you have your first group, right, which would be 3 minus 1 times the LRAM, which would be the left. So it'd be times 6 plus, and then you got 8 minus 3, which is 5, times 4, which is the left. And then you have 9 minus 8, which is EJ, times the left, which would 5, all over 8. If you do all that correctly, you get 37 over 8. So my best guess is most students have been getting B wrong. Average value of f. So that's the integral of f. Okay, here we go. C is a great one, right? BC topic, definitely probably going to be on here. That should scream integration by parts. Lip it, right? Logs, inverse trig, polynomials, exponentials, and then trig functions. But here it gives us function notation. So usually in a situation like this, I'd say 99% of the time, our dv is going to be the f double prime, because what's the antiderivative of f double prime? That's f prime, and that's right there in our table. All right, so we're going to let u, what snappy snaps? So we're going to let u equal, what? Oh no, my marker's not working. You got to be cray-cray right now, right? Oh, snap. Of course, on our last video of the year, it's going to freak out on me. All right, but we're going to let u equal x. Well, that would mean du equals dx, right, class? Okay, that means dv would be equal to f double prime of x dx. And if I take the antiderivative of that, that's just f prime of x. And then remember, we backwards Zorro this bad boy. That is the original problem, which would be equal to these two guys. Now remember, these two guys, it's like you took the antiderivative already. So you're going to have to evaluate that from 3 to 8 minus the integral from 3 to 8 of these two guys, which would just be f prime of x dx. Okay, this is a really good integration by parts problem. So if we look at that first part right there, that's just going to be 8. I'm going to bracket these off. 8f prime of 8. I'm going to show a little bit more work on this one. Minus 3f prime of 3, right? That's just for that piece. Now this piece, nice and easy, job on easy. The antiderivative of f prime is just f of x. And we have to evaluate that from 3 to 8, right? So this is just a lot of doing work. So that'd be 8f prime of 8. I get that in my table is tree. Minus 3f prime of 3 is negative 2. Minus, it's going to be f of 8 minus f of 3. And that's just using the table. If I did all of my work correctly, you should have got an answer of 29. Okay, so make sure you get that. Meet me at Google Meets if you need some more help with some Google Meets. All right, here we go. D. Okay, it's a little derivative of a antiderivative, right? So that would mean h prime of x would be equal to the derivative of an antiderivative. So you just substitute, remember. Now, that one's a constant, so remember that'd be minus 0. But if it wasn't, right, then you have to make sure you continue that. Now, this is a more than a plain old x, so we have to chain that bad boy. Okay, they tell us later to find h prime of 3. Well, h prime of 3, if I plug a 3 into all of this stuff right here, I got an answer of h prime of 3. I've got 12. 12 is not equal to 0, so that means it cannot be a min or maximum. Okay, but they also asked me to find h double prime of x, which is a product rule, right? Which would be the first guy times the derivative of the second guy plus the second guy times the derivative of the first guy, which is a chain in itself. All right, and then if I simplify that, I get, 2 f of x squared plus 4x squared times f prime of x squared. And if you do all that correctly, you get negative 32. Now, something that I want to note, now that's not equal to 0, so that cannot be a point of inflection. Now, remember, if this comes up in our test, hypothetically speaking, so I'm going to do this in blue. Hypothetically, let's say h prime of 3 was 0. Well, that means that would be a min or max at 3. And let's say h double prime of 3 was negative 32. Well, the second derivative tells me it's negative, which means it's concave down. And since the first derivative told me that at x equals 3, there is a horizontal tangent, that means that would have to be a max. Why would it have to be a max? Well, the second derivative is concave down. So if it's concave down at that point, and h prime of 3 is a critical point, which means it equaled 0, then it's got to be a maximum, okay? I think that could easily come up on your AP exam. All right, last but not least, E is a great one because it's a little different, okay? How is this guy different? Well, let's see. They say find the value of R when A is equal to 8. All right, so hopefully you just said, okay, let's just plug some stuff in. Let's put we've got to find R, but they give me all this A stuff. All right, so let's plug in that A, and what do we got? Okay. R to the n. All right, and then f of 8, I know what f of 8 is. F of 8 is 5. Go, Bon! Okay, now check out this. This here says that we have a series that equals 5. Well, the only way a series can equal something is if it is geometric. Oh, for reals? So that means what we're going to do is we're going to take this piece right here and turn it into geometric. All right, and that definitely looks like geometric. So that means our absolute value of R would have to be less than 1. Okay. So, well, that has to equal 5, right? It says it right down there. It's got to equal, go, Bon. Well, that means this is just the first term over 1 minus R, and that has to equal, go, Bon. All right, so how do we do this one? Well, let's find out what the first guy is. A sub 1. What's the first guy? Let's put a 0 in for n. If I put a 0 in for n, R to the 0 is 1. So that means my first term is 8. I don't know what R is. Oh, sweetie sweets. Now just multiply that 1 minus R over, and I get 8 minus 5 equals 5 minus 5R. Subtract that. 3 equals negative 5R. That means R is equal to negative 3 over 5. Booyah, dunzo! That's it. The last video of the year. Sorry you guys had to go through me doing it once more. You can do it! Aloha! Email me, come to Google Meets, do it, you can do it, let's go, cram it up!